Early release screenings are finally done as today Dune Part 2 officially opens up for a worldwide release. All it took was 2 months out of 2024 for Hollywood to finally provide people a reason to go back to the theaters. I guess this will kind of mitigate what the 50% drop off that Hollywood is experiencing in the totality of 2024 compared to the same time frame that they had in 2023, but I guess better late than never. And then also, just think about this. Think about this. The original release date was supposed to be in November of last year. How absolutely devoid of content would this year have been? Okay, because like the next biggest release that's coming out is Ghostbusters, a sequel to Afterlife. Does anybody remember that they did another reboot to Ghostbusters a couple of years back? No, it was a fun idea, and it was great that they could go ahead and completely whitewash the 2016 abomination out of everybody's mind and completely decanonize it. Fantastic for that, but is anybody really looking forward to that sequel? But that's the next biggest thing on the Hollywood docket. Of course, there's going to be some other things that we can talk about as well. There's a certain American Society movie that is coming out on the 22nd of this month, and, well, I look forward to covering that because that's going to be funny as hell. It's something that I have no intentions of ever going to the theater of watching, but I hear great things about it. Everybody who's attended the fan screenings have a rave reviews for it, saying that Austin Butler is performing his ass off, Timothy Chalamet's quite good, and Zendaya, well, she looks like a young Michelle Obama and acts about as well as she does. But overall, it's getting fantastic reviews. One of the best sci-fi movies, pure sci-fi movies of the past decade, and one movie that is designed for theaters, and you need to go down there and see it if you are even somebody with a passing interest in it. I, of course, am tied up with something that I've been looking forward to for about 4 years, which is only going to be about, what, half as long of the wait that follow up to this film that is heavily teased. It's not a spoiler, that's just the derivative nature of Hollywood seeping through that, yeah, okay, they're going to try to adapt another Dune book because, hell, there's 6 of them in totality, and part 1 and part 2 only really tell the story of the first, even though it borrows from a couple of other Frank Herbert novels as well. But I'm not going to delve into spoilers. I've heard a few of them, and I know of the source material, haven't read the book, didn't watch the first movie or anything like that, but I'm intrigued by the world, and apparently, even though part 1 only, I think it's full box office haul, and of course that was released day and date on Max as well, so $400 million, but on the opening weekend, $170 million globally, and I think I'm seeing something around $80 million domestically. Hell of a good haul, man. Unless you've been living under a rock, the Legendary Entertainment and Warner Brothers Dune Part 2 opens this weekend to give a much-needed jolt of testosterone to the box office. Testosterone, I don't know, did you see those poems by Josh Brolin and Timothy Chalamet? Not exactly somebody bursting at the seams with masculinity, but all right. But yes, to date, the annual 2024 domestic box office hasn't cracked $1 billion yet in totality. Yeah, that's sad. With only $866.3 million through Sunday, 18% behind January 1st through February 25th frame a year ago. I guess that down half just in January. My mistake. Nice correction that's right there. But yeah, obviously, this is definitely going to be a good shot in the arm. And $170 million worldwide. And like it says right here, yeah, divided into $85.90 abroad and $80 million the high end for domestic, yes, and North American totals. Warner's conservatively is projecting $65 million, but most exhibitors are tracking it near $80 million. And quite frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if we're talking about this next week that it's going to be in the realm. I think it's probably going to be closer to $200 million, but with the bottom end being 170. But we'll really have to see, man, because I haven't even heard any middle of the road review just for like simple adaptation problems that people who are very familiar with the source material have. And then, of course, individual performances. Like outside of that, it's just glowing. Content is king. Dune Part 2 at $190 million largely was financed by Legendary, but Warner Brothers does have a low double-digit stake in the picture. Warner will get a small share, yes, at the box office and also distribution fee. Yeah, I don't really care which studio gets, paid off of the back of this. All I want to see is how well is it going to perform, because it's PG-13, right? Like, it's not going to be the hard R Deadpool and Wolverine is going to be, and these are two of the big tentpole films to come out in 2024 that look to at least threaten, outside of a couple of kids films like Kung Fu Panda 4, maybe Despicable Me 4, that threaten the $1 billion box office. I personally don't think it's going to get there, but it definitely has a chance. Like I alluded to earlier, okay, if you're anticipating going down and watching the film at your local cinema, or if you're close enough to an IMAX, go ahead and check that out as well. When you're looking for a follow-up, is going to be a long old minute, because Denis Villeneuve, he's French-Canadian, the worst kind of French, he had an interview with the Sunday Times, and there's some interesting stuff that he dropped in that. And the first thing that I want to talk about is his desire to, because he always wanted to tell this story, the one that he is directing right now, in 3 parts. But for the conclusion of this trilogy, the adaptation of the Dune Messiah novel, instead of doing a time skip, maybe, I don't know, using makeup, prosthetics to age up the characters, he's just going to let nature take its course, because Dune's director says young people want long movies. And he's not wrong with this quote, but he's also talking about adapting Dune. Oh, yes. And he has the Dune Messiah revealing he'd love to do the sequel without a single line of dialogue. We'll touch on that as well, but also wants to wait about 15 years, 10 to 15 years before he does the sequel. Listen, if this thing even comes close to flirting with $750 million, Warner and Legendary are going to be breathing down his neck. And let's be completely honest, if you're waiting for Timothée Chalamet to be age appropriate to play the role of Paul Atreides, yeah, I understand. Wonka was a sleeper hit. And if you think that he's the reason behind the potential success of this film, you're misplacing your trust. But, them Frenchmen, even if it's of a different flavor, got to stick together. Let's listen to some quotes that he made in this interview, one of which I agree with, and another one that I vociferously disagree with. Buckle up, cinephiles, and plan on stocking up on plenty of buttery popcorn. I disagree with that. No carbs, they're bad. Sweet snacks and soda, because if you're fans of planning to see Dune 2 this weekend, the science fiction sequel clocks in at 166 minutes, but director Denis Villeneuve insists that there's an audience of young moviegoers who are eager for longer films. Well, yes. And again, okay, like he's going to point out an example here that I agree with. Villeneuve said in the exclusive interview with the Times British newspaper, "This story is too dense. I would never make a Dune as one movie. This is the only way I could succeed. Also, think of Oppenheimer. It was 3 hours, rated R movie, and the nuclear physics that is mostly talking. But the public was young, and the movie of the year by far by my kids. This is a trend, a youth, a love of watching long movies, because if they pay, they want to see something substantial. They are craving meaningful content." Well, yes. I agree with that. Meaningful content, well-written stories. Guess what? People are going to tune in. People are going to set aside some time. If something is long as it's well written, as long as the characters are realized, as long as the plot makes sense. Movie making is really easy. It's just there's so many hacks in the industry right now that are messing up every single aspect. So yeah, man, I 1000% agree with that. I don't think that there's a need that, you need to keep these arbitrary rules. There's no reason there should be any more than 90 minutes. Well, okay, cool. If you want to go ahead and say that for like a comedy can only be 90 minutes, okay? The perfect length for any of that stuff. That's just the stupid rules. That's also like not giving a movie a chance if it's outside of your genre that you don't necessarily like. You're depriving yourself of good storytelling, but hey, if you're going to be a slave to your emotions, go ahead and be a slave to your emotions. There's objective criteria that makes movies good. You can like a bad movie. Not telling you can't like a schlocky film, okay? I've got one that's just over, my left shoulder that you can see right there, that some people would say, at least the actor himself, his portrayal of the iconic character, it took away from their experience with the film, but I like Skyfall. Skyfall is a good film that actually has something in common with Dune as well, with Javier Bardem playing a villain. He's a very good villain in Skyfall, in fact, and tell a good story, and that, outside of Casino Royale, is the best character work that Daniel Craig does in the role. I can point out a lot of good things that are in the film, and it just so happens that I like it. And some people might find the other one that's, over my shoulder as well, very boring. It's just long. I don't like gangster movies. They're all the same. The Godfather is The Godfather, and it's held up on a pedestal for a very good reason, one of which Denis apparently does not fully understand, because he also had some wonky take with this, okay? Villeneuve hates dialogue. What? You hate dialogue, okay? And wants to make a silent film. Okay, that could be cool, okay? We're at a point in time where the Hollywood infrastructure is all just kind of cracking around its very rotted core, so innovative ideas, okay, yeah, they're few and far between. You're going to have the cachet off the back of this film that, yeah, you can go ahead and frankly do whatever you want after this. And if you want to do a silent film, bet people will probably turn out for that one, and it would be quite a unique experience. It says that movies have been corrupted by television. Something else that I don't necessarily disagree with. Hell, it's even something that The Sopranos showrunner David Chase was pointing out, that Premiere Television is dead because the medium ended up killing itself, and Villeneuve is just applying that to movies, saying that heavy influence, them trying to tell these feature-length stories every single week, ended up diminishing the talent pool. But I don't need to read into his statements, because that's what a lot of people are doing, just because, well, they're predisposed to like his movies. So kind of like with what Scorsese said a few years ago, that Marvel movies aren't cinema. You can like somebody, but then you can also point out when they say something horrifically stupid. Dune Part 2 director Denis Villeneuve is not a fan of dialogue, which is so weird. In fact, he hates it. And he wants to make a silent film. He believes dialogue was never meant for movies, and that movies have been corrupted by television. He certainly has an interesting opinion here. Frankly, I hate dialogue. Dialogue is for theater and television. I don't remember movies because of a good line. I remember movies because of a strong image. I am not interested in dialogue at all. Pure image and sound, and that's a power of cinema. But it is something not obvious when you watch movies today. Movies have been corrupted by television. Which, yeah, movies have been corrupted by the talentless. Just take a look at who Disney is hiring. The same people that drove their streaming service content completely into the ground. They're letting them write all of their marquee movies, so that's why everything sounds all homogenized. You have these quippy characters over the top, but he doesn't want to point out the elephant in the room that no, it's not dialogue. It's not the television-infected movies. It's that the writing is trash. I'm sure there's probably going to be good dialogue that's either yours or it's been adapted from the source material, from Frank Herbert, from the Dune novels. But then there's also some purists that are out there that are never going to appreciate an adaptation because you don't do it one-to-one, and we have the books. I don't know why you need it on the screen. You got all of those pictures. I don't care. I just like the written word because you can't tell the story. Oh, you can't properly tell the story of Dune because there is so much internal monologue, and Denny is just bastardized Frank Herbert's vision. See, when you make all of these declarative statements based on objective principles, you start to run into a bunch of hypocritical, no doctors involved with this, contradictions. In a perfect world, I'd make a compelling movie that doesn't feel like an experiment, but it does not have a single word in it either. People would leave the cinema and say, wait, was there no dialogue? But they won't feel the lack, and that's totally fine. And that's totally fine. You want to go ahead and do that, but to simply say dialogue is for the theater and television, there's a lot of people saying, yeah, they're just going to go ahead and take that final line, the movies have been corrupted by television, and run with that and rephrase what Villeneuve had to say. But this is somebody who is talented. This is somebody who's going to be a big name going forward after the release of Dune 2, but he said something stupid. Okay, and objectively saying, I don't remember movies because of a good line. And I think Mahler probably did it the best right here by just simply going, yeah, post your favorite pieces of dialogue from incredible movies by not posting the dialogue. Exactly. Like, you can see these pictures. You can see those images right there, and you know exactly what each of those characters is saying. Like tears in the rain, Say hello to my little friend. No, I'm your father, and you shall not pass. Like, hell, how many Godfather memes are out there, okay? And you know look how they massacred my boy. Come to me now in my hour, on your hour of need. Like, how many Arnie films are out there, okay? T2, anyone? I'll be back. It's a dumb thing to say. But again, oh, you're criticizing somebody's opinion. Yeah, because guess what? Opinions, they can be wrong. And Denis Villeneuve, for as talented of a director as he is, as much as people are going to go see and enjoy Dune Part 2, he said something stupid. That's what I do over here. I point out idiocy regardless of how much people like them. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.